We have always been criticized many times by our own African brothers and sisters who get so irritated when we speak or teach of the untold history of our great African ancestors that have been buried and been plagiarized. These mockers believe that nothing good can ever come out from Africa. Meanwhile, they are Africans. They despise their ancestors and they see their ancestors as demons. The fact is that the fall of African civilization has been a long historical process that the mainstream educational system rarely teach. We have two types of Africans: the Africans before the Holocaust and the ones after the Holocaust. The first ones have already started the science of engineering, medicine, and even astronomy 10,000 years before Europe even came into existence. Africans have started the knock culture since 500 BC to 200 AD, and its evidence are found in West Africa. Africans have started calculating the movement of the stars, moons, and planets, where the first calendar was invented by Africans thousands of years. The Europeans, through Julius Caesar, collected this calendar from Cleopatra in 45 BC, since they were having an inaccurate one. The fact is, the Africans called Moors, who were converted to Islam during the Arabic invasion of North Africa in 639 AD. These Africans invaded Europe around 711 AD and gave Spain a taste of civilization. These Africans also built the oldest university in Europe, named the University of Salamanca. The fall of Africa started from the first stage of colonialism or imperialism, described as slave trade. This trade depopulated the able-bodied young men and women of Akibulan, who would have been the engine of social change. I tell you, my people, the slave trade was an underdeveloping factor. It stagnated our moving to the next phase of human development. Every society have a way of development. Civilization, I tell you, is that stage of a people's socio-cultural development that they considered as advanced. This stage of Africans was tampered through slave trade. The next was colonialism, neo-colonialism, and today they call it globalization. If you meticulously study the mechanism in those processes, you will see the root of our backwardness today. We opened ourselves and gave them that which they lack, and they invaded us at the end of the day. The Hyksos from Asia were the first people who invaded Egypt in 1675 BC, and they ruled for 108 years. The Greeks invaded us in 332 BC and ruled us for 300 years. The Romans invaded us in 30 BC and ruled us for 600 years. And today the Arabs since December 639 AD. What did we do wrong to be the cradle of civilization, as Herodotus asserted in 450 BC and Diodorus Siculus asserted in 60 BC? These are Greek European historians who confirmed Africans to be the cradle, the foundation of civilization. I tell you, my people from Africa, if you don't know your yesterday, you will end up disregarding your today, because history is the study of the past, present, and future. What about our economy? The African economy has been paralyzed. The African economy has been crippled. The fact is that the capitalist order was the order of the highest level of inequality on the basis of private property, which is capital. Those who own no property had only their labor power. The peasants were paid wages only for food in order to come back and work. The owners of private property converted to the bourgeoisie, a wealthy class who controlled the means of production. The fact is, in 1848, the German radical philosopher Karl Marx opined or penned down a prophecy of an inevitable violent social revolution that will bring down the capitalist system in his Communist Manifesto. He said that the history of all hitherto existing societies is a history of class struggle. Truly, a revolution was boiling in Europe. The proletariats, that is the poor people, the propertyless class, the peasants, were so exploited by the European bourgeoisie to the point where they see their production capabilities as different from themselves. They no longer enjoy what they produce. They no longer enjoy their abilities. Karl Marx, in his book Das Kapital, called it alienation. That is, they became alien to their production. The laborers hate what they produce in Europe. Marx asserted that the capitalist will dig its own grave. To avert the boiling revolution that was occurring in Europe, European politicians through colonialism exploited the African economy to improve the working conditions of the proletariat in Europe. Our resources were cheaply taken and sold back to us in an exorbitant price. This process kept us dependent economy till today. Africans became primary producers while the Europeans became secondary producers. We still cannot refine our resources in some African countries like Nigeria. We still appreciate and import finished products. And this is the dependency we are talking about. And dependency is the process whereby the economy of certain countries are tied to the growth and development of another economy. The more Africa is underdeveloped, poor and backward, the more the European economy continues to develop. African economy was integrated into the international capitalist system. They destroyed our local currencies and introduced their European currencies. Our African workers were frustrated to pick up European jobs in order to get the new currency. A professor from the University of Port Harcourt in Nigeria, late Claude Ake, argued in his book, The Political Economy of Africa, that the British pounds became pervasive on the economy of West Africa through every means. They even established their European banks to facilitate this process in their colonial African communities. Their currencies tied our local currencies to their economy. They built roads and established infrastructures not really to develop the Africans, but to facilitate their exploitation of our natural resources. All the roads and railways built in the northern part of Nigeria, in the western part of Nigeria, in the eastern part of Nigeria, were built to exploit the groundnuts in the north, the cocoa in the west, and the palm oil in the east. The processes that led to the underdevelopment of Africa were the same processes that facilitated the development of Europe, America, and Asia. And these processes are slave trade, colonialism, neo-colonialism, and today we have globalization.